She had never even kissed a boy before, let alone thought about doing more than that. Emily James was the type of girl who people called pure, like that word still meant something. 22, painfully shy and raised by a religious grandmother in a small town, Emily's world was small. She worked part-time at a bookstore and dreamed about becoming a writer. She didn't party, didn't drink, and had never once stepped foot in a club. So how the hell did she wake up pregnant? It had started 6 weeks ago. Her best friend, Leah, had begged her to come to a fancy charity gala in New York City. Leah worked as a freelance photographer and had managed to score 2 last-minute invites. "You need to live a little, Em," she'd said, pulling Emily out of her comfort zone. Emily had hesitated, but eventually gave in. One night couldn't hurt, right? That night was a blur. She remembered putting on a sleek black dress Leah let her borrow, feeling both exposed and invisible, in a sea of glamorous women and expensive suits. The place had been dripping with wealth, crystal chandeliers, champagne towers, celebrities, politicians. And then there was him. Zayden Cole, billionaire tech genius, owner of Coltech, 33. Mysterious, arrogant, stupidly good-looking. The kind of man who turned heads just by walking into a room. She hadn't even known who he was until Leah whispered it in her ear. "That's Zayden fucking Cole. Jesus, Em, he's looking at you." Emily had laughed nervously, thinking Leah was imagining things, but he was looking. And then he came over. "Hi," he said, with that smirk that felt like sin wrapped in silk. "You don't look like you belong here." "I don't," she blurted, cheeks flaming. "I like that." They talked. He bought her a drink, non-alcoholic when she mentioned she didn't drink. He made her laugh, really laugh, in a way she hadn't in years. She didn't remember much after that. Not because she drank, but because everything got foggy. There were gaps in her memory she couldn't explain. The car ride, the hotel lobby, then nothing. She'd woken up the next morning in a hotel bed, fully clothed, still in her dress, untouched as far as she could tell. Zayden was gone. A note sat on the nightstand. "Didn't want to wake you. You were safe, thanks for the conversation. Z." She had chalked it up to a weird, strange night. Nothing happened. Nothing could have happened. Right? Until she threw up a week later. Then again. Then her period didn't come. Emily nearly fainted in the drugstore when the second pink line appeared on the pregnancy test. She'd taken 6 more. All said the same thing. Impossible. She was a virgin. She had to be. But her body was telling a different story. She hadn't told anyone. Not Leah, not her grandmother. She was still trying to convince herself it was some mistake, a medical glitch or some horror story her mind had cooked up. Then she made the call. To the clinic. Just to be sure. "Miss James, your blood test confirms it. You're 6 weeks along." The room had spun. "That's not possible," she whispered. "Actually," the nurse said gently, "it lines up exactly with the date you listed, the night of the gala." Her hands were shaking. Her stomach turned. And suddenly a name crashed into her mind like a car wreck. Zayden Cole. She remembered the drink he gave her, the way she'd started to feel dizzy, the way he disappeared in the morning. No. He wouldn't. Would he? Emily had no proof, no memory, no idea how to even begin accusing a billionaire of something so unthinkable. But one thing was for sure. She was pregnant. She was alone. And the father. The father was a man worth over $40 billion, who probably didn't even remember her name. And yet he was going to find out, because this baby wasn't going away. Emily didn't sleep that night. Her phone buzzed with texts from Leah, just random memes and updates, but Emily couldn't even bring herself to respond. Her world had flipped upside down in 6 weeks, and no one around her had a clue. She stared at the pregnancy test still sitting on her dresser, like it was mocking her. It didn't make sense. She had gone to that gala a virgin. She was sure. She would have remembered if something happened. Wouldn't she? That thought kept clawing at her. The gap in her memory, the strange fog she'd felt, the champagne glass she never finished, but that made her head spin like she was drunk. And the powerful man who left without a goodbye, just a scribbled note. Zayden Cole. Her fingers trembled as she opened her laptop. She didn't even know why she was doing it. Maybe part of her wanted to prove to herself that it was not him, that she was just being paranoid, hysterical. She searched his name. His face popped up instantly. Headlines, interviews, net worth calculators. He was everywhere. Tech billionaire, ruthless, charismatic, untouchable. He'd built his company from nothing and now had enough power to make governments nervous. And she was carrying his child. That idea still felt like a bad joke, a nightmare even. She clicked on a recent interview clip. Zayden sat in a crisp black suit, sunglasses pushed up into his dark hair, smiling at the camera with that same smooth confidence she remembered from the gala. "Any special someone in your life, Mr. Cole?" the interviewer asked, all flirty. He smirked. "I don't do special, sweetheart, just occasional." The audience laughed. Emily's chest tightened. He didn't even remember her. Of course he didn't. She was just a nobody. Some bookish girl in a borrowed dress who barely belonged in the same building as him. But what if he did remember? What if he knew more than he let on? Her stomach turned again, and not from morning sickness. She couldn't keep this to herself, not anymore. She needed answers. She needed to know what really happened that night. Because someone, somewhere, knew. The next day, she met Leah for lunch, finally working up the courage to speak. They sat in a quiet cafe, and Leah immediately noticed something was off. "How you look like hell," Leah said, half laughing, then frowned. "What's going on?" Emily didn't beat around the bush. "I'm pregnant." Leah froze, coffee cup halfway to her lips. "Come again?" "I'm pregnant." "But you've never even—" Leah blinked. "Wait, are you sure? I took 7 tests and I went to the clinic. It's real." Leah set her cup down slowly. "Emily, who?" There was a long pause. Emily swallowed. "Zayden Cole." Leah stared at her like she'd grown 2 heads. "The Zayden Cole, the billionaire?" Emily nodded, eyes stinging. "Girl, are you crazy?" "I didn't sleep with him, Leah. I don't remember anything happening, but it lines up. The date, the symptoms, everything. Something happened that night. I don't know what." Leah went pale. "You think he drugged you?" "I don't know what to think," Emily whispered. They sat in silence, the weight of it crashing down around them. Then Leah exhaled and reached into her bag. "You're going to think I'm insane, but I still have my memory cards from that night. I was taking photos for my portfolio, candid crowd shots and stuff. Maybe we caught something. Maybe we can figure out what the hell happened." Emily's heart leapt. They rushed to Leah's apartment and started going through hundreds of photos on her laptop. Blurry dancing, people sipping wine, forced smiles. Then something caught Emily's eye. A photo of her and Zayden. Closer than she remembered. He was leaning in, saying something to her. Her face was flushed, and his hand was on the small of her back. Another shot showed her sipping her drink, eyes glassy. Then one more. It looked like they were leaving the gala. Zayden holding her hand, guiding her toward the exit with a half smile on his face. She zoomed in. Behind them, a man in a black suit, watching, not part of the crowd, not smiling, eyes cold. Leah narrowed her eyes. "That's not one of the event staff." Emily's stomach sank. Then who is he? They didn't have answers, just more questions. But one thing was suddenly clear. Whatever happened that night wasn't an accident. And someone, maybe Zayden, maybe not, didn't want her to remember it. Emily couldn't stop staring at the man in the photo. It was like his eyes followed her, even through the screen. He didn't belong there. He wasn't mingling or smiling or sipping champagne like the others. He was just watching. Cold, still, out of place. Leah was clicking through more images, her face tense. Who even is that guy? He's in at least 4 different photos. Always behind you, always looking at you, creepy as hell. Emily nodded slowly. Her chest felt tight again, not from the baby this time, but from fear, real fear. He's not just some random guest. He's following us. Leah paused. "You think he drugged you?" "I don't know, but something happened between that drink and waking up alone in a hotel bed." There was a long silence between them. Outside, the city moved on like nothing was wrong, like Emily's entire world wasn't unraveling with every new piece of the puzzle. Leah suddenly stood up and grabbed her phone. "I know someone. Guy I dated for like a minute. Total tech nerd. He works in security and surveillance. If that guy's face is in your photos, he can probably trace him." Emily blinked. "You're serious?" "Dead serious. Look, I don't care. If this man is a billionaire, if he did something to you, he's not getting away with it." Something about the way Leah said it gave Emily strength. They were doing something now, not just guessing or crying or running in circles. She went home that night with a copy of the photos on a flash drive, tucked deep in her bag like it was evidence in a crime case. Every step she took felt heavier. She was exhausted, physically, emotionally, mentally, but she couldn't rest. Her thoughts were spinning all night. What if Zayden didn't know what happened either? What if someone else planned this? Why? Her at 3 a.m. as her phone lit up. It was Leah. "Leah, get up, you're not going to believe this." Emily rubbed her eyes and called her immediately. "Hello?" Leah's voice was shaking. "His name is Greg Fallon, former private military, works for a corporate security firm, but guess who owns the firm?" Emily's heart dropped. "Damn is Zayden." Bingo. She sat straight up. So that man was working for him. "And it gets weirder," Leah said. "Greg got fired 3 weeks ago. Quietly. No headlines. No drama, just gone. My guy says it was internal misconduct, but he couldn't get more info." Emily pressed a hand to her mouth. "Do you think Zayden found out what happened?" Leah hesitated. "If he did, he's either hiding it or trying to clean it up." That thought haunted Emily more than anything. If Zayden knew she was drugged or worse and didn't say a word, that made him a monster. But if he didn't know, she had no idea what kind of man he really was. She couldn't run from it anymore. The next morning, she dressed in the cleanest outfit she had, pulled her long hair into a tight braid, and took the subway to the Coltech Tower. It felt like walking into a lion's den. The building was made of black glass and steel, towering into the clouds like it belonged in another world. People in suits rushed in and out, all important, all busy. She walked straight to the front desk, heart hammering. "Hi. I need to speak with Mr. Cole." The receptionist didn't even blink. "Do you have an appointment?" "No, but then I'm afraid that's not possible." Emily took a deep breath. She reached into her bag and pulled out a photo, the clearest one of Zayden, walking her out of the gala, his hand in hers. "I think he'll want to see this." The woman froze, a beat, then another. "I'll see if he's available," she finally said, picking up the phone and speaking quietly. Emily's legs were shaking. After what felt like forever, the receptionist nodded. "Mr. Cole will see you now." The elevator ride felt endless. When the doors opened, she stepped out into a private floor. Glass walls, minimal furniture, thick silence. A man stood by the door and nodded her in. Zayden was at his desk looking out the window. He turned slowly. Their eyes met for the first time in 6 weeks, and the look on his face, not confusion, not anger. It was something else, recognition, and maybe even guilt. Zayden didn't say anything at first. He just stared. His office was too quiet, like the kind of quiet you get in a courtroom before someone gives a guilty plea. His suit jacket hung over his chair, his shirt sleeves rolled up, showing a sleek black watch and forearms that looked like they belonged in a boxing ring instead of a tech empire. But it wasn't his appearance that shook Emily. It was his eyes. That unreadable look, like he'd been expecting her, but wasn't sure if he was ready for what she came to say. Emily forced herself to speak. "Do you remember me?" He nodded once. Emily James from the Rawson Gala. So he did remember. That somehow made it worse. "You left me in a hotel room," she said, voice tight. "I don't remember anything past the first drink." Zayden leaned back in his chair slowly, as if calculating every move. "You were drunk." "I didn't drink," she snapped. "It was non-alcoholic. You ordered it." A flicker of something crossed his face. Not surprise, just confirmation. Emily's hands were shaking. "I'm pregnant." His jaw tightened. 6 weeks. The timing matches the gala. I didn't sleep with anyone else. I didn't even... Her voice cracked. I was a virgin. Zayden stood up slowly. He wasn't panicking. He wasn't yelling. But there was a sharpness behind his calm. I didn't touch you, Emily. Then explain the baby. I left you in that room because you looked like you were about to pass out. I told security to make sure no one went in or out. I didn't lay a finger on you. Emily stared at him, struggling to breathe. You ordered the drink. You handed it to me. He nodded once. Because someone told me it was yours. That stopped her. Who? Zayden walked around his desk, now closer than she was ready for. He grabbed a tablet from the shelf and tapped a few times. A security footage clip loaded. I didn't know until 2 days ago. I've been digging, quietly. He turned the screen to her. It was grainy but clear enough. Greg, the same man from the photos, was seen walking toward the bar. He said something to the bartender, pointing across the room. Then he handed a small bottle off discreetly and walked away. Zayden paused the clip. That's the night of the gala. Greg was on my security team. I didn't know he tampered with anything. Emily stared at the screen, her voice hoarse. You said you've been digging. Why? Zayden looked at her, his face unreadable. Because 3 weeks ago I received a manila envelope. No name. Inside was a photo of me walking you out. And a pregnancy test. Emily's breath caught. You knew, she whispered. I suspected, but I didn't know who you were until I traced the event guest list. I was about to reach out when you showed up. She felt cold all over. So, someone else knew I was pregnant before I did? Zayden nodded grimly. Which means someone's watching both of us. Emily swallowed. Why? Why would they do this? I don't know, he admitted. But Greg was fired after I confronted him. He didn't deny it. Just said, it was handled. She won't. Remember. Emily felt like throwing up. So I was drugged and you didn't stop it. I didn't know. Zayden stepped closer. Emily, I didn't drug you, I didn't touch you, but someone used me to get to you. And now you're carrying a child with my DNA. She flinched. You sound so clinical. This isn't small. This isn't some tabloid scandal. This is calculated. You were targeted for a reason, and that reason leads back to me. Emily was silent, trying to process it all. Then she looked him dead in the eye. I'm keeping the baby. Zayden didn't blink. I expected you would. And I'm not disappearing. You don't get to pay me off or make this go away. I wouldn't insult you like that. His voice was calm. Too calm. It scared her. Like this wasn't new to him. Like secrets like this were just part of his world. I want answers, she said. So do I. Another long pause. Then Zayden walked back to his desk, picked up a folder, and handed it to her. Inside were surveillance stills, profiles and tracking logs, all tied to Greg Fallon. The last page showed a photo of a man Emily didn't recognize, with a red circle around his face. Who's that? Zayden looked her dead in the eye. I think that's the man Greg was working for, and he doesn't just want your baby, he wants a piece of me. Emily stared at the photo in the folder. The man's face was unfamiliar. Early 50s, sharp cheekbones, silver hair slicked back like he belonged in a mafia film. Something about his eyes sent chills through her spine. There was no warmth, no life, just cold calculation. Who is he? She asked. Zayden's expression hardened. His name is Barrett Voss, ex-board member. Used to be part of Coltech's original launch team before I cut him loose. Why'd you cut him loose? Because he was trying to sell company data to foreign buyers. I caught him just before the merger, got rid of him quietly. But someone like Barrett doesn't forget. Emily slowly sat down, the folder trembling in her lap. So, you think he used me to get revenge? Zayden nodded. If this baby is mine, and I believe it is, then it gives him leverage. A child linked to my name, raised outside my knowledge, it's a weapon. Emily's voice cracked. I'm not a pawn. No, you're not. His tone changed, softer. That's why I need to protect you. She looked up at him. Why? Would you care? He paused for the first time. Because I failed you once. That night I should have seen the signs. I should have questioned Greg, but I didn't. And now you're caught in this. Emily wasn't sure whether to trust him. Every instinct screamed to run, to hide, to take her unborn baby and vanish before this got worse. But something in her gut, something deeper, kept her rooted. Maybe it was the way Xaden looked at her. Not like a victim, not like a liability, but like someone he needed to keep safe. Still, she wasn't naive. So what now? What do we do? Xaden leaned against the desk, arms crossed. Barrett wants chaos. He wants the media to get wind of this. A paternity scandal, a public circus, all of it weakens my credibility. Then why hasn't he exposed it yet? Because he's not done. He's waiting until the damage is permanent. Emily suddenly remembered the envelope he mentioned. What did the note say? The one with the photo and the test. Xaden narrowed his eyes. There was no note. She blinked. What? There was no message. There was no message. Just the photo and the test. No threats, no demands. Then maybe it wasn't Barrett. The idea dropped like a brick between them. If it wasn't Barrett, who else would want to mess with both of them? Why would someone go through so much trouble just to orchestrate this? A pregnancy neither of them asked for, with no ransom, no blackmail. Unless... Emily looked at the folder again, her heart racing. What if this wasn't about revenge? What if it was about control? Xaden raised a brow. What if someone wanted to create a link between us, between you and a girl you'd never look at twice in real life? And this baby is the link. What if it's not about money or the media, but about legacy? Xaden stared at her, saying nothing, and then he said something that chilled her. I have enemies who believe I'm too powerful to die childless. Emily blinked. What? I don't do relationships. I don't do heirs. It's in every magazine, every investor meeting. I'm the man with no leash, no strings, no bloodline. To some people, that makes me a weak investment. Emily stood slowly. So, someone forced a legacy onto you. Exactly. And I was just the vessel. Xaden's jaw clenched. They chose well. You wouldn't make it easy for anyone. That hit harder than she expected. Somewhere inside her, past the fear and confusion and rising anger, there was a strange, quiet strength waking up. She wasn't the same girl from 6 weeks ago anymore. She wasn't going to be used. Xaden walked to a wall panel and pressed his hand against a biometric scanner. The wall shifted, revealing a hidden safe. He pulled out a flash drive and handed it to her. What's this? She asked. Everything I have on Barrett. Financials, movement, contacts. If something happens to me, give this to the authorities. Emily stared at him, shocked. Why are you giving me this? Because I don't trust anyone else. He paused. And you're the mother of my child. The words hit harder than she expected. Not because he said them with warmth, but because he said them with intention. A knock interrupted the moment. Xaden turned. Yeah. His assistant peeked in. Mr. Cole, we have a situation. What kind of situation? She looked directly at Emily. A reporter just showed up at the front desk, asking for her by name. Emily's blood ran cold. It had begun. Emily didn't even have time to ask how they knew her name. The moment Xaden's assistant said the word reporter, her stomach flipped. She felt exposed, like someone had peeled back her skin and dropped her on a stage she never asked to be on. Who's the reporter? Xaden asked tightly. Someone from the Mirror Weekly, tabloid type. Said they have credible tips about a secret pregnancy linked to you and a woman named Emily James. Xaden cursed under his breath and stood up, pacing toward the window. How the hell did this leak so fast? Emily felt her voice shaking. I haven't told anyone except Leah and the clinic. Xaden turned. Clinic records are supposed to be sealed, but if someone's watching you, they could have hacked that info. She couldn't believe this. Less than 2 months ago, she was shelving romance novels and daydreaming about writing poetry. Now, her name was about to be splashed across the front pages as the girl who trapped a billionaire with a baby. What do I do? She asked. What do I say? Xaden's face changed. He wasn't angry. He was calculating. That business shark mode she'd seen in every article was now fully activated. You say nothing. What? You... Don't talk to them. You don't open your door, you don't respond to anyone who even mentions this. I'm not some fragile puppet, she snapped. They're talking about me, not just you. And they'll destroy you if you... Give them a soundbite. There was heat between them suddenly. Not romantic, not sweet. Tension. They were two people thrown into a war neither asked for, but both were stuck in. The assistant came back in. Mr. Cole, the press is already outside the building. Zayden turned to Emily. I'm getting you out through the basement garage. They won't see you leave. Emily blinked. And then what? You go home. Home? She repeated. You want me to go back to my one-bedroom apartment with paparazzi outside my window? He stepped closer. No, you're not going back there. Emily hesitated. Then where? Zayden sighed, then pulled out his phone and typed something. Fast. You're going to stay in one of my private residences. It's guarded, secure, no press, no cameras, no leaks. Her jaw tightened. So you're hiding me. I'm protecting you. Feels the same. He looked her dead in the eye. Emily, I'm not trying to control you. But if you want to keep this baby safe, and if you want to find out who's really behind all this, you need to trust me, at least until we know what we're dealing with. Emily looked down at her stomach. She wasn't showing yet, but it was there. Life, small, quiet, innocent. She took a deep breath. Fine, but only until we figure this out. Within 30 minutes, Emily was being escorted out through an underground garage in a black SUV. 2 security guards flanked the car. She wore sunglasses and a hood like she was some kind of criminal. Her hands trembled as she held the flash. Drive Zayden gave her in her lap. By the time they pulled up to the gated villa outside the city, she was emotionally numb. The place was massive, quiet, minimalistic, with security cameras at every corner and guards posted at both ends of the driveway. A woman greeted her at the door, said she was the estate's caretaker, and showed Emily to a private suite upstairs. This is yours for as long as you need, the woman said kindly. Emily nodded, still processing. When she was finally alone, she sat down on the edge of the bed and pulled out her phone. Over a dozen missed calls, half from Leah, one from her grandma. A text from an unknown number. Unknown. They know what you're carrying. You need to disappear before it's too late. Emily's blood turned to ice. Before she could even reply, her phone buzzed again. Unknown. You were never supposed to keep it. Now it's going to cost you. She dropped the phone. Her breathing was shallow. The press showing up wasn't random. The timing wasn't coincidence. Someone was pulling strings. Again, watching her. Threatening her. She stared out the window, heart pounding. This wasn't about scandal anymore. This was a warning. And she had no idea how much danger she was really in. Emily didn't sleep that night. She lay in the massive bed with its expensive sheets and blackout curtains, but it felt more like a cage than a safe house. Every creak, every rustle outside the window had her wide awake, gripping her phone, reading and rereading the anonymous messages. You were never supposed to keep it. Now it's going to cost you. Whoever sent those texts wasn't bluffing. The next morning she called Leah. Leah answered immediately, her voice tense. What the hell is going on? Your face is literally everywhere. The tabloids are calling you the billionaire's secret virgin mother. There's footage of you entering the Coltech building. Blurry, but it's definitely you. I know, Emily said quietly. I'm at one of his houses, off-grid. I'm safe, for now. Are you sure about that? Emily hesitated. No. There was a pause on the line, then Leah said something that made her heart stop. Someone broke into my apartment last night. Emily sat straight up in bed. What? They didn't steal anything, Leah continued. Not even my camera equipment. They just trashed the place and took the flash drive you gave me, the backup copy. Leah, I'm okay, I wasn't home, but that wasn't a robbery, that was a warning. Emily's head was spinning. I still have the original. You need to watch your back, Em. These people, they're not playing games anymore. The call ended and Emily paced the room, shaking. Zayden needed to know, but before she could message him, the security system chimed. A guard appeared at her door. Miss James, Mr. Cole is here. She rushed downstairs barefoot, her heart racing. Zayden stood by the fireplace, jaw tight, phone in hand. He turned when he saw her. You got the text too? She nodded. Leah's apartment was broken into, the backup drives gone. His face darkened. They're tightening the noose. Whoever this is, Barrett or someone else, they're moving fast. Why now? Emily asked. Why go from watching to threatening? Zayden's voice was cold. Because you didn't fold. You didn't disappear like they expected. You stayed. You're talking to me. That makes you dangerous. Emily rubbed her temples. I'm not built for this. I used to write poems and shelf books, and now people want me dead because of this baby. Zayden stepped closer. This isn't your fault. She looked up at him. Isn't it? No. This happened to you, but you're standing here anyway. That means something. A long silence passed between them. Then Zayden said something she didn't expect. I want to bring you in. Emily blinked. Into what? My world. My circle. Legally. Publicly. I want to protect you, but not as some hidden scandal. I want to put a shield around you, so thick that no one will dare touch you. She stared at him. You want to make me, what, your girlfriend? No, he said simply. My fiancé. My fiancé. Her mouth dropped open. I'll have my lawyers draw up the papers. We'll spin it. Say we've been seeing each other privately for months. It'll kill the scandal, silence the media, and block any legal leverage these people think they have. Emily was speechless. You want me to fake a marriage? He didn't flinch. I want to protect my child and you. This is the cleanest way to do it. Her mind raced. Everything inside her screamed, this is insane, and yet it made sense. Marrying Zayden, even if only on paper, would tie her to one of the most powerful names in the country. It would give her protection, access, and safety she couldn't get on her own, but it would also tie her to a man she still didn't fully trust. A man who might care more about damage control than what actually happened to her. She backed up a step. I need to think. Zayden didn't argue. Take the day, but decide fast. Because if we don't control this narrative, someone else will. Emily went back upstairs, her head spinning. By sunset, she was watching the news, and that's when she saw it. Barrett Voss, the silver-haired man from the photo. He was being interviewed outside a courthouse, speaking about a new lawsuit he was filing against Coltech. Mr. Voss, any comments about the rumors surrounding Mr. Cole's alleged child? A reporter asked. Barrett smiled thinly. I think the public deserves to know who's really holding the reins at Coltech and what he's hiding behind closed doors. Fair's team to her. Emily froze. Something about his tone wasn't just bitter, it was personal. This wasn't about revenge, it was about control. And suddenly, Emily knew what she had to do. She grabbed her phone and texted Zayden. Emily, I'll do it. The engagement. The press conference, all of it. But only if I'm standing beside you, not behind you. A moment later, his reply came. Zayden, deal. Be ready by morning. We go public at noon. By the next morning, Emily wasn't nervous anymore. She was focused, sharp. Whatever softness had clung to her 6 weeks ago had been burned away by betrayal, threats, and fear. Now she was steel beneath the skin, and she was ready. The engagement announcement was planned for noon, at one of Zayden's smaller Coltech auditoriums. Press were already waiting, swarming the sidewalk like wolves. The official line, Zayden Cole introduces his future wife and mother of his child. Emily could almost hear the gossip headlines writing themselves, but for once she didn't care. She stood in front of the mirror, wearing a sleek cream dress Zayden's stylist had delivered that morning. Simple, clean, and not too flashy. Her hair was curled softly around her shoulders. The ring, yes, that ring, that sparkled on her left hand. It was real, huge, and heavy. Everything about today felt like a chess game. At 11:59 a.m., she stepped onto the small stage with Zayden. Cameras flashed, reporters shouted, microphones pushed forward like weapons. Zayden held her hand. It was surprisingly steady. He spoke first, laying it out clearly. They'd been seeing each other privately for a few months. Emily was pregnant. They were engaged. The timing was fast, but not unexpected. We ask that you respect our privacy, he said to the crowd. But we felt it was time to stop hiding and take control of the story. Emily stepped forward next, heart pounding. I never asked for any of this. I didn't come from wealth, and I never wanted attention. But life gave me something unexpected, and I've chosen to face it head-on, not in fear. The crowd hushed. She could feel their curiosity burning holes in her skin. I didn't trap anyone, she added firmly. And no one's controlling me. That last part wasn't just for the press. It was for them. Whoever had planned this mess. Whoever thought she'd run. After the press event ended, Xaden escorted her to a waiting car. She slid in next to him, silence settling over them like dust. You were brilliant, he said. Didn't flinch once. I meant every word. Xaden looked at her for a long second. So did I. They rode in silence for a while. Then Xaden handed her an envelope. What's this? She asked. Proof. Inside was a printed transcript, a conversation. Her eyes scanned it. It was a recording between Greg Fallon and Faux Barrett Voss. She read each line, her stomach twisting. Greg, she's confirmed pregnant. Timeline matches. Barrett, good. Get the test in her hotel room and make sure Xaden finds it. He'll think it's from someone else. We just need him tangled. Greg, and the girl? Barrett, she's nothing. A chess piece. He'll never love her. But the baby will tie him down. That's the goal. Legacy. Emily's hands shook. They planned the whole thing, she whispered. Used both of us, Xaden replied. But they underestimated you. She looked up at him. You had this the whole time. I got the recording last night. Anonymous drop. Why didn't you tell me right away? I needed to make sure you still wanted to do the announcement, without feeling forced. Emily folded the transcript, her mind spinning. So what now? Xaden looked out the window. Now we hit back. Later that evening, a statement from Coltech's legal team hit every major news outlet. It exposed the conspiracy, the drugging, the staged pregnancy trap. Barrett Voss was being investigated for corporate sabotage and targeted harassment. Greg Fallon had vanished, but a manhunt was underway. Emily watched it all unfold from the villa, holding her stomach quietly. Then her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Congratulations, Emily. You played it well. But the game isn't over yet. Her blood went cold. Another message followed. A child that valuable doesn't belong to just one man. We'll see each other soon. She dropped the phone and stared out the window, heart racing. Xaden walked in behind her. You all right? She didn't answer right away. Then, there's still someone else. He stepped closer. Then we don't stop fighting. Emily looked down at her stomach and nodded. Let them come, she said quietly. This baby is mine, and I'll burn the world before I let anyone take him. Xaden didn't say anything, but for the first time he didn't look like the one protecting her. He looked like the one standing beside her.